Hello, and a very warm welcome. There's a particular magic in growing your own food, a connection to the earth that's both grounding and deeply satisfying. Today we're embarking on a rather special journey together, one that will fill your home with the most incredible spicy aroma, and your kitchen with an ingredient that is as versatile as it is vibrant. We're going to be exploring the wonderful world of ginger, and I'm here to guide you, step by step, through the process of cultivating your very own supply right at home. It's far simpler than you might imagine. These aren't complicated arcane secrets I'll be sharing, but rather straightforward practical tips that even a complete beginner can follow with confidence. We'll cover everything from choosing the perfect piece of ginger to start with, right through to that glorious moment of harvest. The aim here is not just to grow a little bit of ginger, but to achieve a truly bountiful harvest, one that rewards your gentle efforts tenfold. Think of this as a friendly chat over the garden fence, where I'll share the little details that make all the difference between success and disappointment. And here's the most wonderful part of this entire endeavor. If you follow these steps, if you give your ginger just a little bit of care and attention, you may very well find that you never need to buy ginger from a shop again. Imagine the satisfaction of simply reaching into your own garden or pot whenever a recipe calls for that fresh, zesty kick. It's a small step towards self-sufficiency, but a giant leap in flavor and fulfillment. So shall we begin? Our journey starts not in the garden, but at the shop, with the crucial task of selecting our parent plant. You see, the quality of the ginger you begin with has an enormous impact on your eventual success. You're looking for a piece of ginger rhizome. That's the correct term for the root. That feels heavy for its size, firm to the touch, and plump. Give it a gentle squeeze. It shouldn't feel soft or spongy in the slightest. The skin should be thin, with a lovely golden brown sheen to it, not wrinkled or dried out. Avoid any pieces that show signs of mold, dark spots, or shriveled, desiccated patches. These are signs of age or poor storage, and such a rhizome simply won't have the energy reserves needed to sprout and grow into a vigorous plant. What you're really looking for are the eyes, or buds. These are small, circular nubs, often clustered near the ends of the fingers. The more of these you can see, the better, as each one is a potential new shoot. It's from these points that new life will spring. If you're very lucky, you might find a piece that already has tiny buds that are beginning to swell, perhaps with a hint of green or a lovely pinkish tinge to them. This is an excellent sign. It means the rhizome is raring to go. A piece about the size of your thumb, with 2 or 3 good eyes on it, is a perfect starting point. You don't need a massive piece to begin. Quality over quantity is the key here. It's about potential, not just size. Now, a very important note. Much of the ginger sold in large supermarkets has been treated with a growth inhibitor to prevent it from sprouting on the shelves. This can, of course, be a major obstacle for us gardeners. If you suspect your ginger might be treated, or if you simply want to give it the best possible start, there's a simple solution. All you need to do is soak the rhizome in a bowl of lukewarm water overnight. This simple act helps to wash away any potential inhibitors on the surface and thoroughly rehydrates the rhizome, signaling to it that it's time to wake up. After its bath, take it out and let it air dry completely. This initial selection and preparation is the foundational step upon which all our future success will be built. So take your time, choose wisely, and you'll be giving your ginger the very best start in life. Now that we have our chosen rhizome clean and ready, we can move on to a step that I find gives a tremendous head start, pre-sprouting. While you could plant the ginger directly into the soil, encouraging it to sprout first gives you a visible sign of success early on and significantly shortens the time it takes to see green shoots emerge from the compost. It's a simple technique that builds confidence and momentum. It's all about creating a warm, humid environment that mimics the perfect spring conditions. For this, you'll need nothing more than a shallow tray or a plate, and a clean cloth or a few sheets of paper towel. First, dampen your towel. It should be moist, like a wrung-out sponge, but certainly not dripping wet. We want humidity, not a puddle, as standing water can lead to rot, which is the enemy of all rhizomes. Lay this damp towel flat on your tray, creating a nice, moist bed for your ginger. Next, place your ginger pieces on top of the damp towel. If you have a larger rhizome, you can certainly cut it into smaller sections, ensuring each piece is at least an inch or two wide and has at least one or two healthy-looking eyes. Let the cut surfaces dry, and callus over for a day or so before you do this, just to prevent them from rotting. Then, fold the remainder of the damp towel over the top, or use a second damp towel to cover them completely. You're creating a little humid cocoon. The key to this process is warmth. Ginger is a tropical plant, and it needs warmth to break its dormancy. Find a warm spot in your home. This could be on top of the refrigerator, in an airing cupboard, or near a radiator. Not directly on it, as that would be too hot, but nearby where it can benefit from the ambient warmth. You're aiming for a consistently warm but not baking environment. An ideal temperature is somewhere between 21 and 25 degrees Celsius. That's about 70 to 77 degrees Fahrenheit. Check on your ginger every day or two. You'll need to lightly remist the towel if it starts to feel dry. Be patient. After about 5 to 7 days, sometimes a little longer, you should be rewarded with a wonderful sight. The buds, those little eyes, will have swollen noticeably. They will have turned a vibrant green, or perhaps a beautiful pink, and started to push outwards. This is the moment you know your ginger is alive and well, and ready for the soil. With our ginger beautifully sprouted, it's time to turn our attention to the medium in which it will spend the next several months of its life, the soil, or more accurately, the growing mix. For a root crop like ginger, the texture and composition of this mix is absolutely paramount. Ginger rhizomes need to expand and spread out with ease, so a heavy, compacted, clay-like garden soil will simply not do. It would constrict the roots, hold too much water, and lead to a very poor, if any, harvest. What we're aiming to create is a soil that is loose, friable, and exceptionally well-draining, yet still rich in the organic matter that will feed our plant. It's a balancing act, but one that is quite easy to achieve. I have a preferred recipe, a blend that has served me very well over the years, and it's one you can easily adapt based on what you have available. The goal is to create a texture that's almost fluffy, something you can run your hands through. My ideal mix starts with a good proportion of compost. Let's say about 40% of your total volume should be well-rotted, mature compost. This is the engine room of your mix, providing a slow, steady release of nutrients throughout the growing season. It also helps to retain just the right amount of moisture. To this, I add about 30% of a material that provides structure and aeration. Cocoa peat or coir is absolutely fantastic for this. Alternatively, fine sawdust or even well-rotted leaf mold works beautifully. The next component is a bit of garden soil, about 20% of the mix. This adds some body and introduces beneficial microbes that are essential for a healthy soil ecosystem. If your garden soil is very heavy or clay-based, use a little less. Finally, to ensure that drainage is absolutely perfect, I add about 10% coarse sand or perlite. This creates little air pockets and channels that allow excess water to drain away freely, which is vital for preventing the rhizomes from rotting. Mix all these ingredients together thoroughly in a wheelbarrow or on a tarpaulin. You want a consistent, homogeneous blend. When you pick up a handful and squeeze it, it should hold its shape loosely, but then crumble apart easily when you poke it. This is the perfect home for your ginger. It provides the nutrients it needs, the moisture it requires, and most importantly, the freedom for those delicious rhizomes to swell and grow into a magnificent monster harvest. We have our sprouted rhizome and our perfect soil mix. Now comes that wonderful moment of planting, of tucking our fledgling plant into its new home. How we do this is important. It sets the stage for how the plant will establish itself. The depth, the spacing, and the orientation of the rhizome all play a part. But don't worry, it's very straightforward. The main principle is to give the rhizome space to spread out sideways. First, let's talk about containers. Ginger is an excellent candidate for container growing, which gives you complete control over its environment. The key is to choose the right pot. You need something that is wide and relatively shallow rather than deep and narrow. A pot that is at least 12 inches wide and about the same depth is a good starting point. This is because the rhizomes grow horizontally just beneath the surface. A wide pot gives them the room they need to expand. And of course, ensure your pot has plenty of drainage holes. Fill your chosen pot with your lovely loose soil mix, leaving an inch or two of space at the top. Don't compact the soil down. Just let it settle naturally. Now, take your pre-sprouted ginger piece. Look at it closely. You'll see the green, pointy buds. These must be facing upwards. This is the shoot that will grow towards the light to become the leafy stalk. Planting it upside down is a mistake from which the plant may not recover. Gently press your rhizome into the surface of the soil. You don't need to bury it deep. A depth of just 1 to 2 inches is absolutely perfect. The top of the rhizome should be just below the soil surface. If you're planting multiple pieces in one large container or a garden bed, give them plenty of space. A good rule of thumb is to allow at least 8 inches between each piece. This ensures they don't compete with each other for space and nutrients as they grow. Once your rhizome is nestled in, lightly cover it with your soil mix. There's no need to press it down firmly. Just a gentle covering is all that's required. And that's it. The final crucial step is to give it its first watering. Water it in thoroughly until you see water running out of the drainage holes at the bottom. This helps to settle the soil around the rhizome and removes any large air pockets. Your ginger is now planted, poised, and ready to grow. Watering is one of those simple gardening tasks that can often cause the most problems. With ginger, getting the watering right is about responding to the plant's needs as it grows. It's not a case of a fixed schedule, but rather a gentle, observant approach. The mantra to remember is consistently moist, but never waterlogged. As we've discussed, soggy soil is the fastest way to rot your precious rhizomes, so we must avoid that at all costs. In the very beginning, just after you've planted your rhizome, the need for water is minimal. The initial thorough watering is usually enough to keep the soil lightly moist for quite some time. The rhizome has no leaves yet, so it's not losing much water through transpiration. During this early stage, your main job is to simply check the soil every few days. Poke your finger about an inch deep. If it feels dry at that depth, it's time to give it a light watering. If it still feels moist, leave it be. Once you see the first green shoots poke through the soil, things begin to change. The plant is now actively growing and will start to use more water. As the leafy stalks grow taller and more leaves unfurl, its water requirement will increase steadily. During this active growth phase, you should aim to keep the soil consistently moist. You might find you need to water every 2 or 3 days, especially in warmer weather. Again, always do the finger test first. There's a very important technique to watering ginger that will help prevent fungal diseases. Always aim to water the soil, not the plant itself. Try to avoid wetting the leaves and, most importantly, the stems where they meet the soil. Splashing water onto the foliage and stems can create a damp environment that invites fungal problems like leaf spot or stem rot. Using a watering can with a narrow spout allows you to direct the water precisely where it's needed, at the base of the plant, onto the soil. As the season progresses and you head towards autumn, the plant's growth will naturally begin to slow down. The leaves may start to yellow and the stems may begin to droop. This is a signal from the plant that it's maturing and preparing for dormancy. At this point, you must reduce your watering significantly. Allow the soil to dry out more between waterings. This drying process encourages the rhizomes to mature and develop their tough, protective skin, preparing them for harvest. While our carefully prepared soil mix provides a fantastic foundation of nutrients, a hungry plant like ginger will benefit enormously from a little extra feeding during its peak growing season. Think of it as providing a series of nourishing meals to fuel its development. This is how we encourage what I call explosive growth, the development of large, healthy, and wonderfully pungent rhizomes. But we must be gentle. Ginger responds best to regular, mild feeding rather than infrequent, strong doses of chemical fertilizers. The key is to use organic, gentle fertilizers that release their nutrients slowly and improve the soil structure at the same time. One of my absolute favorites is compost tea. It's incredibly easy to make. You simply steep a shovelful of good quality compost in a bucket of water for a day or two, then strain it. This liquid gold is teeming with nutrients and beneficial microbes. Dilute it to the color of weak tea and use it to water your ginger every 3 to 4 weeks. Another excellent option is a diluted fish fertilizer or seaweed extract. These are available at most garden centers and are wonderful for providing a broad spectrum of trace minerals that ginger loves. Again, dilution is key. Always follow the instructions on the bottle, and if in doubt, err on the side of making it weaker. A gentle, regular feed is far more effective and safer for the plant than a strong, shocking dose. You can also make wonderful plant food from things you might otherwise throw away. Banana peels, for instance, are famously rich in potassium, a nutrient that is vital for root and rhizome development. You can simply chop them up and bury them lightly in the top layer of soil, or you can soak a few peels in water for a couple of days and use the resulting banana water to feed your plant. It's a wonderfully sustainable way to nourish your ginger. Finally, a light dusting of wood ash from a fireplace or bonfire can be beneficial, but only use it sparingly. Wood ash provides potassium and can help to sweeten the soil slightly. A very small handful sprinkled around the base of the plant once or twice during the growing season is more than enough. Remember, feeding should start once the plant is actively growing, say when it's about 6 inches tall, and should stop when you begin to reduce watering in the autumn. This feeding regime will give your ginger all the energy it needs to produce a truly magnificent harvest. Now, this might come as a surprise to some. When we think of a tropical plant like ginger, we often picture it basking in intense direct sunlight. However, the reality of ginger's natural habitat is quite different. It typically grows on the forest floor, under the canopy of taller trees. This means it has evolved to thrive not in blistering all-day sun, but in dappled light or partial shade. Understanding this is crucial to providing the right conditions for your plant. Too much direct, harsh sunlight, especially the intense heat of the afternoon sun, can be very damaging to ginger. It can scorch the leaves, causing them to turn yellow and crispy at the edges. It stresses the plant and can stunt its growth, forcing it to put all its energy into survival rather than into developing those lovely, plump rhizomes underground. So, our job is to replicate that gentle forest floor environment. The ideal lighting for ginger is a few hours of gentle morning sun, followed by shade for the rest of the day. If you have a spot in your garden, perhaps on the east-facing side of your house or under a deciduous tree, that would be absolutely perfect. The morning sun is less intense and provides enough light for photosynthesis without causing stress. Then, As the sun gets higher and hotter in the afternoon, the plant is protected in the cool of the shade. If you're growing your ginger in a pot, this becomes wonderfully easy to manage. You have the freedom to move the plant around to find that perfect spot. You can place it on an east-facing patio or balcony where it will catch the morning rays. Alternatively, you can place it in a location that receives bright, indirect light for the entire day. This could be under the cover of a porch or in a very bright room indoors near a window, but just out of the direct path of the sun's rays. Think of the leaves as your guide. If they are a lush, deep green, your lighting is likely perfect. If you notice them starting to look pale, yellow, or scorched, it's a clear sign that the plant is getting too much direct sun. Don't be afraid to move it to a shadier spot. By providing this protection from the harshest sun, you'll keep your plant happy and healthy, and it will thank you by channeling its energy where we want it most, down into the soil. There is a simple, almost magical technique that I urge every ginger grower to adopt. It's the practice of mulching. Mulch is simply a layer of organic material that you spread over the surface of the soil. It may seem like a humble, unassuming step, but I can assure you it has a profound effect on the health of your plant, and most excitingly, on the size of your final harvest. It is one of the key secrets to producing truly monster rhizomes. So, what does mulch actually do? Well, it performs several vital jobs all at once. Firstly, it helps to retain moisture in the soil by slowing down evaporation. This means you'll need to water less often, and the soil environment remains more consistently moist, which ginger absolutely loves. Secondly, it acts as a very effective weed suppressant, preventing opportunistic weeds from sprouting and competing with your ginger for water and nutrients. This saves you a great deal of work. Thirdly, and perhaps most importantly for our purposes, a good organic mulch helps to regulate soil temperature. It keeps the soil cooler during hot days and warmer during cool nights, protecting the delicate, shallow-growing rhizomes from extreme temperature fluctuations. This stable, insulated environment is perfect for encouraging them to grow large and healthy. It also creates a dark, protected layer that the rhizomes can push up into, effectively increasing their growing space. What can you use for mulch? You have many wonderful options, and most of them are probably available for free in your own garden. Dried leaves are fantastic. Grass clippings, as long as they are from an untreated lawn and applied in thin layers to avoid becoming slimy, are also excellent. Other brilliant choices include rice hulls, if you can get them, fine wood shavings, or even straw. The key is to use a light, airy, organic material. Apply the mulch once your ginger plant is well established and has reached a height of about 6 to 8 inches. Spread a generous layer, about 2 to 3 inches deep, all over the surface of the soil, being careful not to pile it up directly against the stems of the plant. As the season goes on, this mulch will slowly break down, adding valuable organic matter and nutrients to the soil, feeding your plant from the top down. It is a simple step with a truly transformative effect. After months of patient care, we arrive at the most rewarding moment of all, the harvest. There's nothing quite like the feeling of unearthing your very own homegrown ginger. But when is the right time, and what's the best way to do it? The wonderful thing about ginger is that you have options. You can choose to harvest it young for a milder flavor and tender texture, or wait until it's fully mature for that powerful, spicy kick we all know and love. A young or green ginger harvest can begin about 4 to 5 months after planting. At this stage, the rhizomes will be smaller, with a thin, pale skin that you often don't even need to peel. The flavor is less pungent and fibrous, with a lovely crispness. To harvest young ginger, you don't need to dig up the whole plant. You can simply brush away some soil at the edge of the pot or plant, and you'll see the pale, creamy rhizomes. You can snap off a small piece, a finger, for use in the kitchen. This method of bandicooting, as it's sometimes called, allows the main plant to continue growing and producing. It's a fantastic way to have a continuous supply of fresh ginger throughout the latter half of the growing season. Just be gentle. Try not to disturb the main root system too much, and always be sure to cover the remaining rhizome back up with soil and mulch after you've taken your piece. For a main harvest of mature ginger, you need to be more patient. This typically happens about 8 to 10 months after planting. The plant itself will give you clear signals that it's ready. The long, leafy stems, which may have grown 3 or 4 feet tall, will begin to yellow and fall over. Growth will have ceased, and the plant will be entering dormancy. This is the time to reduce watering and let the soil dry out, which helps the rhizomes to cure and develop their tough outer skin. When you're ready, you can harvest the entire clump. The best way is to gently loosen the soil all around the plant with a hand fork or trowel, being careful not to spear the precious rhizomes. Then you can lift the entire plant system out of the pot or ground. Shake off the excess soil, and you will be met with the most incredible sight: a large, interconnected clump of beautiful, aromatic ginger. You can then break it apart, wash it, and prepare it for storing or, of course, for replanting. And so we come to the final, and perhaps most magical part of our ginger story. This is the step that transforms a single gardening project into a truly sustainable, perpetual cycle. This is how you ensure that after this one initial effort, you have a supply of ginger forever. The secret is wonderfully simple. You must always save a piece to replant. It's the gardener's golden rule of self-sufficiency. After you've harvested your magnificent clump of mature ginger, your first instinct will be to admire it and think of all the delicious things you can make. And you should absolutely do that. But before you take it all to the kitchen, take a moment to inspect your harvest with a gardener's eye. Look for the healthiest, plumpest pieces of rhizome. You're looking for the same qualities you looked for when you first bought your ginger from the shop. Select a few of the best pieces. Look for sections that are firm, free from any blemishes or soft spots, and most importantly, have several promising-looking eyes or buds on them. These are your future. These are the pieces that will become next year's crop. By selecting the very best of your own harvest to propagate, you are, over time, selecting for ginger that grows particularly well in your specific conditions. You are creating your very own unique strain. You can then store these chosen pieces over winter in a cool, dry, dark place. A paper bag in a pantry cupboard is perfect. This allows them to go through a natural dormant period. Then when spring begins to stir again, you can take them out and begin the whole wonderful process anew. Soaking them, pre-sprouting them on a damp towel, and planting them out into fresh, rich compost. You are one step ahead, starting with rhizomes you know are viable and vigorous. This simple act of saving and replanting is what closes the loop. It means that one single purchase of a piece of ginger can provide you with a lifetime of harvests. It's a beautiful rhythm to get into. Plant, grow, harvest, eat, and replant. It connects you to the seasons and gives you a profound sense of security and abundance. It's the ultimate reward for your gardening efforts, an endless supply of one of the world's most wonderful spices grown by your own hands. And there we have it, from a single humble rhizome to a bountiful continuous supply. As you've seen, growing ginger is not a complex art reserved for experts. It's a simple, rhythmic process that anyone can enjoy. It's an incredibly rewarding plant to grow, one that asks for little more than a bit of warmth, some shade, and a gentle hand with the watering can. In return, it gives back so much, filling your home and your cooking with its incredible vitality. The joy of harvesting something so fragrant and useful is a pleasure that never fades. I do hope you feel inspired to begin your own ginger journey. It's a wonderful step towards a more self-sufficient way of life, even on a small scale. There is immense satisfaction in knowing exactly where your food has come from, and in having that fresh, fiery flavor on hand whenever you desire it. It's good for the soul, it's good for your health, and it's certainly good for your cooking. All it takes is one pot and one rhizome to start. So find yourself a beautiful piece of ginger, give it a home, and watch it grow. Nurture it through the seasons, and it will reward you generously. Remember the cycle. Save a piece of your harvest, and you will have created a system that keeps on giving year after year. It's a beautiful partnership between you and the plant, a cycle of growth and abundance. Plant once, harvest forever.